So, I originally made this video under the assumption that the other staff member would not want me talking about them, because I had not asked them. But earlier today, I was talking with them again, and they gave me full permission to tell their side of the story as well. So now I have to redo pretty much the whole thing, with less dancing around her side of the story. First, part of why I wanted to make this video is to give a little bit of an update on where I've been. I've mentioned it a little bit, but I do contract work, so my schedule can, without notice, go from empty to full within a week. And at the end of last month, I got very busy with work and other life stuff. Around the same time, the creator of Endless Leveling, JoJo, uh, I had talked to him about some of my gripes with Histatu, and he told me to apply for staff for his server. So I did, and I got to work on crates like he asked me to. I made a spreadsheet of the crates rewards, and then I ran into an issue, and I told him, hey, there's this issue. Uh, I need this fixed before I can continue. I reached out to the mod dev to fix the bug, and they said it would be fixed with update 5. I'm like, great. So after update 5 comes out, I go ahead and I finish the first iteration of the vote rewards crate. Problem being that I do not have access to set up a votifier, so there was no way for players to obtain the vote key. And Airi said, "Oh, I'll set it up on my end," and I'm like, "Cool." 3 days goes by, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm still here. Just let me know when we get votifier set up so I can do my job." Silence. Another day or two later, I'm like, "Hey, y'all are doing great. I'm still waiting on votifier to get set up. I'll start working on the loot table for some of the other crates." And I did. I did not implement those crates because there was no real point to. But I finished the loot table for the alchemy crate and a crate that was planned to give augment rerolls and race rerolls, etc. Then later, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, I put in another reminder just like, hey, it's been a minute. I still need votifier set up. Can someone please set this up? And Miji comes in and says, "Oh, we don't need to set up votifier anymore. We're not doing that because of the Hytale server discovery list." And I'm like, okay. Then we just need to make some other way for the keys to be obtainable. And he is like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do that. I'll get back to you." And Miji is very busy. I know this. So I give him some ideas, just tying it to playtime, letting him know that the crate was originally balanced to be open 3 times per day. That is pretty much the last I hear of him working on it at all. He also had to fix the permissions to allow players to even interact with the crates in spawn, not once but twice. I don't know why it got reset again, but and he wouldn't teach me the command to edit the permissions myself, even though that I like crates were literally my assigned task. I was supposed to be in charge of them. Like it would have been helpful to know the command, especially because I had the permissions to do it. But whatever. Moving on. Around this time, I was missing Hytale, and my work schedule was less busy, so I had been getting on after work to either work on crates or do raids or grind dungeons. Full disclosure, I had been given a Prestige 5 profile months earlier to help test the first iteration of the Outlander Warchief encounter. And I asked Jojo if he wanted me to reset and grind legitimately, and he said no. So I kept Prestige 5. I kept the Prisma equipment, just the armor, and the Azure Vortex bow. Or for any Histatu players, man, what is it called on Histatu? Anyways, brain fart. I was considering making a series, grinding a new profile, like deleting all the equipment and grinding a new profile. But I couldn't get around to it because all this stuff that I'm about to talk about happened. Anyways, when I first came back from my, or actually, I should explain what it looked like when I went on a little bit of a hiatus from working on the server. Back when my work schedule got busy, I saw that my work schedule got posted and that I was scheduled 6 days in a row, and then I had 1 day off, and then I was scheduled 5 days in a row, and then I had 2 days off, and then I was scheduled, I think, 4 days in a row. I don't remember. It was it was not a fun schedule that week, or those weeks, I should say, because that was multiple weeks. So I posted in staff chat just like, hey, my work schedule is picking up, but I am still available. At me if you need anything. At this point, I didn't know that I wasn't able to set up Votifier, so I said, I'll set up Votifier when I can. But if someone else wants to work on it, you need to give key 13. Cool. That's that. I work. I do a little bit of work on the spreadsheet for the crates rewards after work a couple of days. Then, when I officially come back, I want to say like 2 weeks later. I had not been mentioned a single time. I had not been DM'd at all. And I had been demoted all the way from admin to helper, which is basically I got demoted from, let's see, admin to moderator to helper, without any warning at all. No messages, no nothing. And partially this was because when I was brought on, there were no expectations put on us at all. Like, it was literally just Jojo wanted to focus on mod dev, and he wanted a better example of what the mod is supposed to look like than some of the other big servers. Because a lot of the big servers have messed up their configuration in various ways, so people are very overpowered. So the endless leveling server was supposed to be a kind of baseline to refer to. Uh, and I tell him, like, yeah, I've never helped set up a server like this, but I would be down to learn. And he told me, apply for staff, Miji will approve it, and he did very quickly. And we're talking about what tasks need to be done, and Jojo assigns me to crates at this point. Better, the other staff member, got assigned to shop balancing in tandem with Miji, because at the time Miji was just like, he wasn't officially the head admin, he was just like the I I would say that he was like JoJo's right hand kind of. But throughout the time of us working on stuff multiple times in VCs, JoJo would leave and I would ask a question, and either Miji or Zenix or Better would say, "Yeah, we don't know. JoJo has given us no guidelines." So, anyways, the communication is bad. Uh, the workload is fine, but no one is communicating about what we should be working on. So, I just keep working on crates because, you know, what else am I going to do? Apparently, I was supposed to step forward and assign myself to more tasks, even though whenever I would look in the to-do list thread, or forum rather, someone else would have already said, "I'll handle this." And I'm like, okay, cool. Throughout working with JoJo, we were in VC a couple of times, and, you know, I didn't think he was, like, actually homophobic at first. I know this seems like out of nowhere, but I kind of have to address this. I didn't think he was actually homophobic, but just recurring homophobic jokes. One time we were in VC, and he literally says, like, I don't know if it was supposed to be a joke, but he said it like deadpan, all seriousness. He said, "I'm not racist. I am homophobic, though, just by the way." Which is just a wild thing to say. Anyways, when he was talking about his add-on for the marriage mod, he said he had to stop himself from giving a debuff to same-sex marriages, or making it so priests couldn't officiate same-sex weddings. Again, this was in VC. I don't have a recording of it because I'm not a psychopath and I don't record my voice chats. This part was probably a joke because there's no gender declaration in Hytale. But just because it's a joke, that doesn't make it not homophobic to say those things. Like, I don't he didn't like go around calling people the F slur, or he didn't tell them that they were sinning by being gay or whatever, but he was still making some very uncomfortable jokes, and I think he is homophobic, even if it's not the even is not the most extreme case. Um, he also made quite a few sexist comments, but it was less. It was less than some of the shit I saw on other servers. Um, and it made me uncomfortable, and I said, "Don't make those jokes," and he still kept going. Um, maybe you forgot, maybe you didn't hear me because I only brought it up a handful of times. Not to go off on a side tangent here, but if you don't want to support JoJo for doing this shit, I would also say do not support Histatu. There are many reasons I stopped playing on Histatu, and I have heard some horror stories from other people who have left Histatu. Harassment, both sexual and non-sexual in nature. Just lewd jokes. Just very childish interactions, making fun of people. I don't know if there was homophobia in there as well, but I do know that there were some pretty fucking sexist things coming from Demo and other staff on Histatu. Including but not limited to messaging one of the female staff members a picture of a BDSM setup, and adding her and saying, "We're waiting for you," in the staff VC. Like, fucking insane. But that's not my story to tell. I have permission to talk about this stuff from her. But I don't want to stray too far away from the stuff that I have had personal experience with. On the Histatu side, the main reason I left was that the people I was interacting with on, like, the staff just weren't listening to any suggestions from me or some of the other players that put in a lot of time to the server. I racked up, I think, 250 hours of playtime in a month, which is degenerate, especially because I know that way too little of that time was AFK. I won't spend too long on his Histatu stuff. But basically when I had just joined, I discovered a bug with Retaliate that was caused by the raids on Histatu specifically. It wasn't really a bug for the mod. It was an oversight on Histatu staff's side. Basically, in the raid, there are some enemies that deal enough damage to one-shot you. And Retaliate is based on the amount of damage you take. And you do not need to survive for Retaliate to proc. So, what would happen is you would hit something at the same time as it one-shots you, and you would do hundreds of millions of damage. I discovered this because I joined when the Divine Gauntlets were first released. Because I love gauntlets in games. Um, I'm like, okay, I want to play Brawler, and I'm going to get the Divine Gauntlets, and I'm going to have a blast. Not even a week later, I get to top 6 on the leaderboard. I think 24 hours after that, I hit number 3 on the rated leaderboard because I start to figure out what the retaliate bug is and how it functions. Because I did not understand it when I first started, but I started seeing like the procs in chat saying retaliate did like 200 million damage, and I look at my damage, I'm like, huh, I did 200 million damage and 4,000. I think I know where most of my damage came from. And then of course getting more and more retaliate procs, your damage stacks up quite high. And other players were using this both with and without knowing. But a particular player had helped test the Divine Gauntlets, and, you know, it's not confirmed if they discovered the retaliate issue during the testing and didn't report it. But when they came out, they did switch to Brawler, and they did top the leaderboards and refuse to explain why. So, if you want to put 2 and 2 together there. Anyways, the other thing was an issue that I noticed and JoJo explained to me, which is an interaction between endless leveling and MMO skills. Basically, since they're both percentage increases, they just scale with each other way too fast and give you so much damage. Like literally half of the DPS on Histatu comes from the MMO skills. At least on my build that I did the math on. I make a thread suggesting they remove this. I make videos on it going over the math. Basically just saying, hey, either remove MMO skills entirely or just remove the damage scaling. Cool. They remove it. A couple days later, they bring it back unchanged. And then they get more complaints because people have been complaining about this for a while. And then they remove just the damage boosts. Cool. I go on break for a couple of weeks, and when I come back, it's re-enabled again. So I messaged JoJo, and I'm like, hey, I just got back from a hiatus. I got on Histatu, and pretty much everything is the same. I don't think the developers care. I saw that they started a tester role, which, quick side tangent, I suggested the tester role a month prior and got told by Demo that it was a bad idea. And then when I come back from a hiatus, Demo spins it as his idea. Like, it's a very basic idea. I'm not butthurt over the fact that I didn't get credit. It's just very funny to me that to my face he was like, yeah, no, we can't do this, and then a month later he does it and takes credit for it. Anyways, in response, JoJo tells me to come staff for his server, and I'm like, cool. I get assigned to crates. We already went over that. Last thing about Histatu, another reason I stopped supporting them is I found out that they stole pretty much all of the divine weapons, without crediting the mods. Uh, I believe they are called Zet's Mystic Weapons, and let me actually pull up the name of the other one. Shinku's Powerful Weapons. There's a couple of other ones. Some of them are actually made by the same person, so if you just find them and then click on them, you'll be like, oh, the super awesome prismatic glider that Histatu has, that was made by the same person that made the Avalon, the Aries, and the Vortex, or whatever the blue bow is called on Histatu. It's been like over a month since I played on that server. They renamed the items and set the tag to Histatian weapons without crediting the mod dev. And specifically with the gauntlets, they commissioned aspects of the design for the gauntlets, and unless they have changed this after getting called out for it, they did not pay the person they commissioned. They only took the concept sketch and said, looks good, thanks, and ghosted them without paying them, and then went on to use their designs in their server. Anyways, back to endless stuff, I suppose. The expectations towards staff were not really outlined well at all. I'll literally pull up the messages that JoJo sent me when I first joined. I said, okay. I said, what would you want me to do? I'd be down, but I don't know how much help I can be other than testing. I can see if Toxic would be interested if you want. Like I said, he has a brain for this kind of thing. Jojo in response says, setting up the server and stuff right now, adding content like shops, a few NPCs that people can interact with. I said, not gonna lie, I know jack shit about Hytale modding and server creation, but I'd be open to learning. And at this point, because I have a life outside of this, I wanted an expectation of how much I need to work on it. So I said, I hate to be that guy, but if the server makes money, would this become a paid thing? If not, it's all good, but that would definitely change the amount of time I'm able to put into it, because I do still gotta make a living IRL. In response, Jojo says, no, I'm making it free to play. All paid slash monetization will be cosmetics. I don't want pay to win at all. Even the future battle pass is all cosmetic, like race skins, on-hit particles, cosmetic ranks, weapon skins. And I said, that's good. A big gripe with Histatu is that the crates are very expensive, and aside from the divine and so I was brought on with the expectation of not getting paid, and I was fine with that. And from the start, I said I didn't know how much time I could put in it, but I would be willing to work on it pretty much every day after work. Again, my main issues I ran into were just waiting for other people to do stuff, and at no point was I told that I should have found a different task to work on. I was basically just told to work on crates. Oh, Jesus, what was that? Oh, I'm so sorry. I was basically just told to work on crates and just focus on crates. So anyways, just with these unclear expectations, yada yada yada. Uh, I will now talk about the, I guess, culmination of everything that happened yesterday. Uh, Pretty much all day from 4 a.m. yesterday to like 4 a.m. today. Just off and on. Um, First, a player reported a exploit, quote unquote exploit, I should say, with the in-game shop. And Better, who was in charge of the shop, was not online because it was 4 a.m. In her time zone. So she was asleep. And instead of disabling the shop and waiting for Better to work on it, because the shop is Better's job, that is what she was brought on to the server to do. Miji goes and nerfs every single sellable item in the shop, destroys just over a month of work from Better, balancing the shop, just overnight without consulting her at all. And of course, when Better wakes up, she's flooded with messages because, you know, the community at this point knows that the shop is Better's jurisdiction. And this change is so widely hated, she's basically getting berated for ruining the shop and just fucking up the shop so bad. So she goes to Miji and is like, why didn't you wait for me? Rightfully so. And he just doubles down and is like, I had to patch it because they were already exploiting it. When the solution should have, of course, been just disabling shop access until Better could get to it. Anyways, so Better then goes to JoJo and is like, hey, Miji just destroyed a month of my work and doesn't care. In response, JoJo, I'll probably put a screenshot of it here. JoJo says, I think the shop balancing needs to be passed to another person. This was easily prevented. JoJo then in staff chat, when I call him out on it, goes on to say, we were never going to reassign JoJo and Miji, I should say, because it's more Miji's call than JoJo's at this point, because Miji is the lead admin, even though that the server is, from my understanding, paid for by JoJo. So there is some pressure from above, I suppose. Anyways, I post in staff chat just like, hey, if you say someone is in charge of something, you should consult them before changing it. I don't think it should be handed off to someone else because of one issue. And then JoJo pretty much denies saying that Better should be reassigned to something else at any point, despite saying it both in Better's DMs and in a public channel on the Discord in response to shop feedback. Miji then lies and says that Better had asked for more help with the shop. And earlier that day, I was like, oh, if Better needs help with the shop, I'm not doing much with the crates because I'm waiting on stuff. I'll volunteer. But what Better had actually asked for help for was planning server events and not uh, the shop. So Jojo just out of nowhere is like, yeah, we should reassign Better off of the shop just because she wants to plan server events and asked for help. So anyways, at this point I'm getting 3 or 4 conflicting stories. So at this point I don't think I want to leave staff yet. So I'm on the server, I'm working on crates. We have a raid and I do some dungeons. I know I said that I had a Prestige 5 profile, but over the course of grinding a couple of days, I went up from 5 to 8. That's not the most impressive leap, but I just thought I'd mention it. Just all cards on the table. Then after I finish working on this stuff, I head to bed, because it is midnight-ish at this point. At this point, Better has officially left staff, and I end up getting messages from her with, like, screenshots with DMs with Miji, and I'm like, yeah, what the fuck is going on? So I then get out of bed and get on the server because earlier there was a crash that deleted a world that some of the staff were working on, the Adventurers Guild world. So we had to roll back the server. So I got on partially to check that and also to just talk with Miji, fix another issue with crates. Just a bunch of different stuff I was working on. And I get on to find that I have no permissions at all. Again, without messaging me. So I message Miji, and I'm like, hey, I noticed in-game I no longer have permissions. I can't teleport to the Adventurers Guild world. I can't edit crates. And to his credit, he says, oh, moderator permissions must not be set up yet. Because he had moved me officially from admin to moderator. He just hadn't adjusted my perms because the moderator perms hadn't been set up yet. Even though, I will say, according to the outline of roles, what they were asking me to do was a quick button. We did not get these outlines until a month and a half, at least, after we started working on the server. This shit was not clear whatsoever from the get-go. Let's see, the outline message I just posted a screenshot of was posted on the 13th of this month. And I started as staff on the 16th of last month. It was way more in line with admin than moderator, even though that they're trying to undermine the amount of work that I put onto the server. So he is editing the permissions, and he mentions that, okay, side tangent, not really side tangent, I just need to explain. I say I understand why I was demoted for sure, just because I was inactive. But the stuff I've been told to work on is way more in line with admin, which is why I was admin before. I wasn't told I needed to be super active when I was inactive And even when I was inactive, I was waiting on Votifier to get set up and for Gillo, Lootbox and Shop Dev, to patch the mod. And Miji says the activity was a given. I say not from Airi's description for me, because that I literally told him before I signed up that I would not have a lot of time, and he said it was fine and to still apply. So I say I'm working on this in my free time. I can hop on after work pretty much every day. But if I don't have anything to work on, then I might not hop on. Worth noting that at this point, for the past week or so, I had been off of hiatus. Oh my god, hiatus. And I was helping players, just answering questions, removing bugged blocks, fixing, like compensating for when like a bug happens and people lose their items. I would give them back, of course, after investigating. Anyways, so at this point, I had been active for the past couple days, I think at least a week, before any of this conversation even happens. And I had already apologized for being inactive and explained myself. And again, during my absence, they did not message or at me a single time. So I bring this up, and Miji says, we aren't asking you guys to be here every single time, but just be more consistent. I think that's fair. And I say, I would have hopped on the moment y'all messaged me. It's good though, I'm not mad at y'all. And Miji says, I'm tilted right now too, and very impatient at the moment. We aren't paying you guys. That's why we didn't bother to ping, and we understand y'all have lives. Legit a passion project. I say less that and more of a, hey, you haven't been around in a while. Are you still able to do this? Message is what I mean. But again, I'm not mad at y'all. The communication could just be better. And I'd rather be here than on Histatu. Yeah, we could have, and I'm working on that. We didn't expect anything in the beginning, so we didn't expect people to stay assumed completely, and we understood it that way. The server grew unexpectedly, and we weren't able to catch up with other stuff. Then I say, yeah, I get it for sure, we are all learning. And here is apparently where I mess up. I say, all cards on the table though, if we miraculously start earning hella money like Histatu and y'all still don't want to pay me, I'm quitting. / lighthearted. Because this was a joke. Like, I don't think this server is ever going to make as much money as Histatu apparently did or does. And I signed on knowing I wouldn't get paid. So this is a joke. I used a tone indicator and everything. And I say, but right now, as far as I understand, it's mostly being funded by JoJo's supporter tiers and stuff, so I'm not going to demand pay, especially because I knew going into it, it wouldn't be paid, if that makes sense. By hella money, I do mean hella money. It's actually kind of crazy how much Histatu makes made and spent on that stuff. Miji then says, we won't be making money for months and I'm not getting paid for anything. This is a passion project for me. I say, oh, I know. I'm just saying, if it becomes like Histatu, where we somehow miraculously start making money and we, emphasis on we, still don't get a cut because Histatu staff doesn't, if you don't know. Then that would feel pretty bad, you know. But the chances of making that amount is very low. Histatu only pays devs, no other staff get any amount of money from earnings. This was confirmed directly by Demo when I was about to apply to staff. I won't read the rest word for word, but then he goes on to basically say there's no reason to pay moderators or helpers or whatever because they just don't put in enough work and the devs are more valuable. I may do like a screenshot dump, I guess, in the description or maybe at the end of the video. Anyways, I reiterate several times that I'm not actually expecting them to pay me and that it was a joke. And he just keeps on saying, hey, we're not going to pay you because you don't deserve it. And I'm like, I wasn't asking you to pay me at any point. And at this point, he stops responding to me and just starts forwarding my messages to JoJo because apparently they were in VC together. And he just starts quoting what JoJo says in response. I reiterate once again that I'm not saying, oh, the moment the server makes money, I want my cut. I don't give a fuck. Earnings should probably be pumped into server improvements and upkeep first and foremost. All I'm saying is, if by some miracle the server makes bank, I'm not going to work for free, and neither should you. Talking to Miji. Because he did say he wasn't getting paid. I would not be here if I didn't want to work on this stuff. That is true. I already went over how little free time I have had recently. I have many better things to do than work on a server that hates me. JoJo's response that was given to me by Miji is, it looks like you're trying to secure a spot for getting paid while not being present at the start. You disappeared for a long time while others worked hard. Some of the other staff were clueless about who you were and were wondering why you were even on staff in the first place. Crates was the one task you had, but you had so much opportunity to do more. You had admin privileges as a moderator. Quick interjection. I applied as a moderator because admin is not a role you can apply for on the server. That miscommunication was addressed when I was brought on to work on crates, and then I was quote-unquote promoted to administrator by Miji. Going back, you had admin privileges as a moderator and couldn't at least help out the core staff with some work. Now that you're seeing the EL server succeed, you decide to be active. That doesn't look great. The core team deserves the funds if the server ever makes money. It doesn't make sense to pay someone who doesn't provide core content, especially when the core team can just do the same work themselves. If you're clueless on what to do next, that's already a problem and a sign you may not even fit as a part of the core team. There's also a few non-staffs providing more to the server than what you've done, parentheses, not to be mean, close parentheses. Not knowing what to do is a bad excuse. JoJo. And then I, of course, say, I said just about a dozen times that I'd only care about getting money if the server made bank, as in a lot of money. No one ever asked me to help with anything. I didn't know y'all needed me for other stuff than the crates. I know, but now I know you want me to work on other stuff. Expectations were not clear at all at the start. I didn't disappear. I didn't even disappear. I said I'd be busy but to at me if you need anything. Jojo's response was then, so we started a fresh server and you did not know what to do? That's what I mean when I say you probably wouldn't fit with the core team, bolded. The core team knows exactly what were needed and did not have to explain anything else. Jojo. This is just a blatant lie. Literally every time Jojo would leave call and I'd ask a question, either Miji or Xenix would respond with, we don't really know. Jojo hasn't told us what to do. We haven't been given any expectations. And then I say, at this point, I'm getting a little mad because I'm annoyed that it is 3 in the morning, 2:30 at this point, and he's still going back and forth about something that I've clarified, like, several times. So I literally just screenshot, my original messages of how I got onto staff, like how I was asked to get onto staff. And I say, I literally told him I don't know jack shit about setting up servers, and he still told me to apply. And saying that people just knew what to do is false. Literally every time I was in VC, someone different said something along the lines of, we don't really have clear expectations, or not knowing what to do. And like I said just about a dozen times, if I was trying to get paid, I can assure you a gig where I signed on knowing I was going to be doing free work is not the way I would go about it. All I'm saying is, in the event that the server did make enough money to compensate someone in my position, especially because, as I said, I'm going to be more active and already have been for the last week or so, and I still chose not to pay me, I would not take well to that. And then I say, kind of a backhanded comment, I say, Jojo keeps saying all the server stuff is up to you, but you're literally just copy pasting what he says in response to my messages. I need sleep because it is almost 3 a.m. Miji responds, it is up to me, but we are legit in a call together. I'm just forwarding backhanded comment. And I grant him that I was a bit cranky at this point, and not my best moments. So I say, just from my perspective, it looks like he says it's up to you, but then still tries to butt in and sway opinions, like with the shop or in his responses to Better. If that's not it, I apologize for misreading the situation. I just don't get why you/Jojo are getting so butthurt about me offhandedly mentioning that in the 1 in a billion chance y'all become millionaires, I'm not going to give free labor. Miji then says, you read the whole situation wrong and is cooked now. And I say, I can say the same thing about going on an hour-long conversation about an offhanded comment that was made 99% as a joke. Not quite at the same time, but around the same time, Miji realizes, damn, if Yoctor and Better are both leaving, then I really will have to work on this shit myself. Despite saying moments earlier, oh, other people can do the same work, y'all don't do shit. So he goes to Better and is like, hey, I'll let you. like, hold on. I'm gonna pull up the messages because it was crazy to me to read this. Let's see. Okay, this is what I'm giving you. You can come back, but you'll be a moderator. You just need to manage players, check for exploits when you can, and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about shop and other problems that comes along with managing the economy. Yada, 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 yada. And Better, of course, says, honestly, MJ, no thank you. If I wanted to be a mod, I would have applied as one. I joined to help Jojo because he asked me to, and he no longer wants or needs my help. There were some prior messages about Better trying to get Miji to understand why she's upset for several hours, pretty much all day, and he just doesn't get it. Like, refuses to apologize, says that he did everything right, all that kind of stuff. So, it is officially 3 a.m. at this point. I log on to the server. I private my spreadsheets of the crates rewards. I remove the crates that I had worked on. They'll probably have rolled that back because that would have been quite simple to roll back. But point is, I did that. And then literally as I was getting on the server, I was getting permissions removed from me left and right. So I was typing out a broadcast message, which has a limited character limit. And I hit enter, boom, you don't have permission to use this command. Even though that I had permission moments prior. So in the logs, if Miji was watching, it would have shown the exact text of what I was trying to send. So I knew that I would probably get banned if I didn't just send it as plain text immediately. So I say in chat, PSA from Yachterdrug, former staff. Better half was pushed out of staff earlier today, and due to some discussion over it with Jojo, Miji, and myself, I will be leaving the server. And then I didn't have time to explain this because of the character limit, but I added on. Also, Jojo is unironically homophobic, by the way. Thanks for all the fish. I then leave the server. I did ban myself from the server. I don't know if that went through. I didn't check. Probably not. I probably didn't have permissions to do that, but I did type /ban Yachterdrug in the chat. And then I closed Hytale, and I left the Discord. I then worked on this video until about 5 a.m. I went to sleep. Then I wake up. Better was still in the Discord, and she sends me the response to my final message. Worth noting that before I left, Miji was typing something in announcements and did not send it. My guess is that Jojo told him to not send it so that he could get together a quote-unquote official statement. But I cannot confirm that. That is just my guess. At here, I missed out on a little drama, but that Yachterdrug guy is out of hand. LOL. It all started with reassigning staff tasks and correcting his roles in-game from admin to moderator, because he was just a moderator. This is a lie, as I already addressed. I came on as a moderator because the application did not let me come in as an admin, and then Miji was like, oh, you need admin perms, I will promote you. So I was promoted, to admin. But the main issue is this guy fueling the fire about a different issue while having zero context. I did have context from DMs with Better and stuff that they were saying behind her back in staff chat. I just didn't mention it in my initial message, nor in my messages in staff chat. So he is blatantly trying to cover up that he did anything wrong. Also, I'll be blunt, he didn't do much as staff. A lot of people were wondering why he was even staff in the first place. Again, I was staff in the first place because JoJo told me to be staff and did not give me any expectations on what to work on. At any point, if they had messaged me to ask for help, I would have hopped on literally as soon as I was available, but they didn't. I thought we were all good, but I come back to find myself demoted to helper, and I had to, I literally didn't have permissions to speak in staff chat anymore. I had to friend request Miji and Zenix and get them all in a group DM and say, hey, who keeps demoting me? I can't even work on anything or message staff chat. And they explained it's because I was gone, and I'm like, hey, a warning would have been nice. And they're like, yeah, okay. Anyways, I digress. Continuing on. He started showing up after the server started growing and started talking about trying to get us to pay him money. First off, I did not show up after the server started growing. I was playing off and on the server since when we had 0 concurrent players. I didn't just randomly come back. I was done with my stuff IRL, and as I said, had set the expectation. If you need me for anything, I will hop on ASAP. Just blatantly, I am available. I just don't have enough free time to dedicate my attention to this right now. Let me know if you need me or want me to work on anything, and I'll do it. Because I didn't want to be a burden and slow things down. Also, as I mentioned, I didn't even come back and go immediately like, y'all should pay me. I need money. No, when I first applied to staff, I asked if I would get money, and JoJo said no, and I'm like, okay, I just won't be able to work on it full time. And he said that was okay, and that I should be staff. And then my only other mention of getting paid from this was my offhanded comment to Miji that was a joke, or at least like 99% a joke, or just like a what if scenario, basically. That's just a terrible mindset. All of the other staff is working super hard to bring out core content to the server, and this guy comes out of nowhere after disappearing for 3 weeks and expects us to start paying and causing drama. Again, even in my 3 weeks, I was still reading staff chat. I was looking to see if they needed me for anything, and they didn't. I did not, brain fart, Jesus Christ. I did not cause drama until yesterday. Like, that, I didn't do anything until yesterday to cause drama, and it was calling out Miji and JoJo for treating Better like shit. And then I guess to regain some clout or something, he says, "Let me make this clear. I will be blunt as fuck with people. This guy got lucky that I didn't use my League of Legends flaming skill." Laughing dog emoji. He didn't flame me because I saw him typing for 20 minutes in my DMs and I blocked him. Because I honestly just don't think he has anything valuable to say to me. Hey, maybe that's my mistake. Maybe he would have called me a slur and I could have put it in the video and been like, yeah, don't support this guy. But oh well, I don't care. You can believe me or not. Then he says, "Man, I want to stay unserious and joke around, but I have to be careful with my jokes if I ever come across as this type of person. My two best friends are gay as fuck." No, I'm not talking about Zbeev. That was another recurring joke. This is in response to the homophobia allegations. And I'll just say, if your defense for being homophobic is I'm friends with gay people, you're not in a good spot, my brother. In all seriousness, the root issue was not a big deal. The core team found that one of the staffs, Better, he didn't say this, but it was talking about Better, needs to be reassigned, parentheses, not demoted, close parentheses, just reassigned to a different task. But I'll be transparent, it was debated to demote the person from admin to moderator because we felt like admin role was too much responsibility for the person when they were being indecisive. Yokter, on the other hand, went on a whole tangent even after correcting him. It is what it is. The first off, they were saying that they needed to reassign Better, but only JoJo wanted to reassign Better. Miji did not, despite repeatedly saying that everything is up to Miji and JoJo has no final say in it and not to drag him into it. It was JoJo's idea to reassign Better. Better ends up talking with Miji and JoJo and basically saying, I don't know what else I can do other than work on shop, so if you don't need me for shop, good luck. Like, I'm going to quit. At this point, Miji then says, yeah, I'll let you come back, but it will be as a moderator. So they were demoting her. So this is just all PR skills. This is mostly lies and just spinning things to look better. And then about me going off on a tangent even after being corrected, I brought it up in staff chat right when Better left, and I was quote unquote corrected, and then I left it at that until 2 or 3 a.m. where I had the conversation with Miji I just talked about, where I didn't even go on a tangent. I literally, like, if anything, Miji is the one that went on a tangent. Like, I offhandedly mentioned that Histatu doesn't pay their staff, and Miji just keeps on saying basically, like, yeah, you don't deserve to get money. Moderators don't do anything. Admins don't really do anything. They don't deserve paychecks. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just responding to him. I don't think that counts as arguing or going on a tangent or causing problems when he's the one literally just continually bringing it up despite me clarifying I'm not even asking you guys to pay me. Like, just full stop. I'm not even asking you guys to pay me. unless you're getting rich. And even if you did get rich, I didn't even say, yeah, if you get rich, you have to pay me. I'm saying, I was always saying, if you get rich and you're enough of a douchebag to still not pay your volunteers, I'm out. Again, 99% as a joke, and then that led to an hour-long tangent from Miji. It was back and forth, but it was mainly led by Miji. So anyways, this is an hour long, and I have to put in screenshots, I have to put in like background footage, so it's not just a black screen. So I'm going to try to wrap this up as best as I can. Overall, my experiences with JoJo and the staff of the Endless server have been very poor communication, followed by homophobic or sexist jokes, and then if they get pushed on it, they're like, it's just a joke, bro. Like, you know, that kind of person. But even after being told that people are uncomfortable with those jokes, they continue making them. Even with them present. So it's like, yeah, you might not be calling people the F slur, but you're making homophobic jokes over and over again. Speaking of slurs, JoJo seems to really like the R slur, I guess. He uses it quite often. So I guess you can add some ableism to the mix. Yeah. I don't know if you care, but he also strongly supports AI. He went on to say that he thinks that AI makes art better, he thinks it makes music better. And I I initially told him just like, yeah, I 100% disagree. Anyways, let's get back to work, because it was in a staff call. So I got back to work because honestly, I didn't at the time I didn't really need to agree much with JoJo. I was vibing with Miji and Zenix and dude, I forget their in-game username. Exo Mekara, whatever. Anyways, yeah, I I would just say if you care about uh homophobia, sexism, ableism, AI, I guess. I mean, I don't like AI either. But it feels really weird to tack on the end there after going over ableism, sexism, and homophobia. But if you care about that shit, do not support JoJo. Uh, and I am not active enough on Histatu anymore to give a view of their community, but I know to their credit, they did commission an artist to replace the AI art in Spawn. I will give them credit for that. I don't know anything else. Recently, all I know is that at least Demo is a fucking sexist, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. So I would not suggest supporting Histatu from my experience as well. And I will no longer be playing on Histatu. Like I said, I logged a decent number of hours. I have a decent amount of stuff. I don't care about it. If you can find it, take it. I'll post a screenshot of my base. Anything that is within that bedrock box that I'll post a picture of is completely fair game. I will empty my ender chest. I'll put all my equipment in the chests. You'll just have to find it. Anyways, I don't like making a video like this, but I don't like being lied about even more. So I felt that I just had to speak on my experiences and the experiences of better half. Thank you if you made it this far. It is up to you whether you believe me or not. I've made this video for my personal peace of mind more than anything, and you have my word that I have not lied about anything in this video. But again, it is up to you whether you believe me or not. Hopefully the next video I make is on a lighter note. Thank you very much.